Hello, dear viewers and listeners. This is UMD Media, and we are here today to update you about what's going on in Ethiopia, particularly in Tigray. We have witnessing, or we are witnessing, new developments, and the news and current affairs of UMD Media is planning to update you with what's going on after the eruption of the war in Tigray. And actually, we were supposed to come in here with Professor Getachew, and we are planning on daily basis to update you what the engaging parties, particularly the Ethiopian government and the Tigray authorities are up to. What are the information that we are gathering from there? We would like to update you in one way or the other. I wish Professor Getachew is around for some of the analysis of the developments that we are hearing from different sources. But for today, I will attempt to update you. This is Shamalis Marasa Gabra Mikael. I think you haven't seen me before. Visually, I used to update you using, other forms, only my sound. So today I am planning to deal with three things. The first one is we have heard in the last few days that the war has erupted, particularly on the southern part of Tigray and in the western part as well. There are some information that we are hearing, and then the second one is in response to that. What are the international community saying? And lately, the other major development that we are hearing is the fact that the WFP, the World Food Program, is saying that some items, or I mean, fuel is looted by the Tigrayan authorities. And then, in response to that, the Tigray government has provided some information. We will deal with that. So, having said that, I will just directly go to the first part, which is how it looks like with regard to the eruption of a war. We will see into a reflection and our format. Our format of updating you is going to be like journalistically answering the five W's and H's. So we will try to see what's happening, and who is saying what, and when, and all that. So, what's going on? Of course, as you all have heard, the war has erupted, or there is an eruption of war, and basically, it all started with the attack that the government of Tigray was saying there was an attack. I think it was last week. So war erupted. There were a pile of military forces on the border of Tigray, as we are hearing from different media outlets. Um, AP, I think it was 2 days ago, August 23, AP has said that the Ethiopian military has launched a large-scale offensive for the first time in year in Tigray. Mind you that from what we are hearing from the Tigray government, it is not an attack or a counter offensive that it is providing, but it is defending itself after the attack in the western part. I think it's called Humera. I mean, not Humera. Excuse me. It is Dedebit. Dedebit. It's a historical place where the the 17-year of anti-Derg regime struggle has started. So there were some information that were that there were offenses and defenses coming. One party is accusing the other of attacking first, but war is looming anyway, as we can see. And at the same time, they both are calling for peaceful resolution. And they are saying at the same time they will be abided by the ways and means of peaceful resolution of the matter. But for the most part, we are not seeing that. And let's say, for example, the Ethiopian government, the Ethiopian defense, through its defense ministry, basically the high-ranking official from the defense ministry, have claimed to have shot down a plane. They alleged to have crossed Ethiopian airspace to deliver weapon to Tigray forces. The location from different officials, we are hearing that the location of the shooting of this plane. Um, which in some instances have been said that it is a big uh, plane, but from the picture that we have seen in different media outlets, it's a very tiny aircraft. Anyway, and then the location, there is a contradictory information with regard to the location of the craft itself. Some say it is in the western Tigray, while others say in Mekelle, in the capital. In any case, the External Affairs Office of the Tigray administration has responded to this allegation, saying that there was no plane entered Tigray, and it stated that it was a blatant lie. That is what I have read from the External Affairs Office of the Tigray administration. And according to the office, also. Um, the intent of the allegation is to internationalize the war on Tigray, and this is an approach, as the External Affairs Office has said. It is to search for a boogeyman. I will quote: "It's a boogeyman, to search for a boogeyman to justify its ongoing genocidal campaign," according to the information from External Affairs of the Tigray administration or Tigray authority. And who is being involved, or who is saying what? And the two parties, as we have said, the federal and the Tigray forces, have been accusing each other over the last few days, as we have said. The first information was the accusation by the Tigray government to have been attacked, as we have said at the beginning of our program, to have been attacked. One of the location called, I have said, Walqait. I think Ethiopian government was saying that the Tigray government has been advocating for or starting the war, or it was advocating for the eruption of the war. However, Getachew, the Foreign Affairs Office Tigray, and the Tigray government has said differently. Let's see what has happened when, to see what's going on. I think I have seen this information, or I have got this information from. Sorry, there was an issue with the camera. Anyway, so Reuters have reported what has happened starting from March 24. As we all know, there was a truce, and starting from the 24th, it has summarized what has happened and what led to this eruption of war. So, on March 24, 2022, the Ethiopian government declares an immediate unilateral truce to allow aid into Tigray. We have heard this in a number of times, and Tigrayan forces later say they will respect ceasefire if sufficient aid is delivered to the region, to Tigray, within reasonable time. That was on the March 24th, and April 1st is the other development. The April 1st of this year, and so we have seen. We remember that 20 trucks carrying food aid entered the territory controlled by Tigray forces. The first time aid entered into Tigray by road since mid-December. The initial trickle of aid increased over the next months, or the months after April. And on June the 14th, the federal government forms a committee to negotiate with Tigrayan forces, a public step forward to peace talks. That we remember this one as well. And then August 20 is the other development. The World Food Program says almost half the population of Tigray is in severe need of food, and the aid groups also struggle to distribute supplies because of the government restricts the amount of the fuel that can enter a trade. There was a fuel shortage during that time, starting from August 2022. That is one of the impediments, or the problem that we could recall. And then the August 24 is one thing that we remember. That is the final part, or I think it was yesterday, fighting between Tigray forces. Officially, we have heard that the fighting between Tigray forces and government forces erupted around the town of Kobo. That is at least official information that we have received, ending a month long. There was a ceasefire, as we remember. This has ended the months long ceasefire. This is what we could say in terms of chronological order of the major developments, and where has happened what is the next issue that we were going to look into. Attack on Walqite by ENDF against Tigray forces, violating the truce that stayed well about for 6 months, probably, I guess. Since the fight, there were aggressions from ENDF, mainly on the southern part of Tigray, according to the information that we have been gathering. And the Tigray government is stating that it is only defending its territorial integrity or the aggression. There were no, until we come into the studio right now, there were no counteroffensive so far. It is important to note here that Western Tigray are occupied by ENDF, Eritrean and Amhara forces. That we have to note. This one, part of the northern Tigray, including the locations where Irobs and Kunamas, ethnic minorities in Tigray, reside, are also still occupied by the Eritrean forces. This is also something that we need to well note when it comes to where. So the other thing is the Ethiopian government forces are also allegedly moving from Samara through Galikoma. That is the information that I have read yesterday. Galikoma is in Afar to the Tigray borders. Two drones, according to my information, two drones were already stationed in Samara recently, and another two have arrived Samara a couple of days back. This is according to the information I have read at Afar Federalist Diaspora Committee has released this information yesterday. That is yesterday, August the 24th. And so we will look into two of the main things now before we conclude this part. Those are why and how. So why? I think the only reason the Tigray government, according to the information coming out, the only reason the Tigray government has to engage in this is to defend, or to defend itself, not to for a counter offense. According to the information we are hearing, it is because of the continuous attack and aggression and the piling up of forces by alongside the Tigray territories, and the Ethiopian government to look after. It looks like after months long preparation, needed a reason to start the war. Is what the Tigray administration or the Tigray authorities are saying. Previously, the reasoning that if it provided and still continuing on in the media narrative is, I mean, the war back in November 2020 is the attack on the Northern Command, and this time there are different reasoning coming out. But right now, from what we are hearing, is more of the accusations that the Tigray forces are getting ready for attacking and commencing the war. That's at least in general terms that what I'm hearing. I wish Professor Getachew is around to give us more perspective, or any one of you. You can also send us some of your reflection on that. And then the last part is how in my opinion, there were a lot of hopes with the interventions of the international community, mainly the United States and the European Union and member countries. There have been a full hope that the situation could be resolved peacefully, but peacefully through a dialogue and negotiation. But that doesn't look like so. I don't know how it's going to unfold moving forward in the coming days and week. We will try to look into different sources, and we will come and update you. It might be contained if the pressure continue within the country and externally. There might be chances for the war to stop right away, or it may continue. We will wait and see. If the counteroffensive will be continuing and further aggravated. That's the first information we would like to provide. And the second one is the different responses ever since this newly erupted war. So we'll look into the response, feedback, and the international community, the from the international community mainly. So UN Chief Antonio Guterres, right after he heard the information, was saying that Uh, he was saying that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says he was shocked by the renewed fighting around the northern region of Tigray. And the UN chief Antonio Guterres said he was deeply shocked by the renewed fighting and appealed for an immediate cessation of hostilities and for the resumption of peace talks and full humanitarian access and the reestablishment of public services in Tigray. This is a statement from UN Chief Antonio Guterres. And the head of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki, also called for a de-escalation and resumption of talks to seek peaceful resolution. And Joseph Borrell, the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, on his Twitter handle, said reports of renewed conflict in northern Ethiopia, referring to Tigray in this case, cast a shadow on the prospect of peace. He also called upon all parties to de-escalate. To de-escalate the situation before it turns again into a full-blown war. According to the High Representative, now is the time for peace talks. Looks the same tone with the previous officials. This was also shared by many U.S. officials. They are saying they are deeply concerned anyway, as the usual phrase "deeply concerned" is looming. They are urging all sides to de-escalate tension immediately and adhere to the ceasefire and return to negotiation table, among other points that they have raised. So these were the information that we are hearing. In addition, IGAD, the executive strategy, secretary, was saying that he calls all sides involved to immediately refrain hostilities and escalation and recommit to dialogue to find a sustainable peace in the best interest of Ethiopia and the entire region. There are also other informations, other reflections on the eruption of the war. For the most part, many people, including the Ethiopian citizens and the Tigrayans, they don't want this to happen, but it's happening, and they are all calling for a peaceful resolution still, as war would claim a lot of lives and destructions as well. And before we wind up, we'll head up to the final part or the final update for today. That is the accusations on the WFP's 12 fuel tankers. So, the first information that we have heard is from WFP Chief David Bashley, allegedly accused Tigray administration or the Tigrayan Authority of seizing or taking 12 fuel tankers. That is about 570 liters of fuels, which was for World Food Program operations in Magala, Tigray. It was in Magala, Tigray, the capital of Tigray. So, and WFP is also saying that millions will starve if we do not have fuel to deliver food. This also seems um, kind of absurd when there was the ways and means were there, and for the most part the accusation was going to the federal government of blocking the road because of the siege and all that, and a number of times we have heard that. And then because of these 12 fuel tankers were looted, WFP is saying that millions will starve if we don't not have fuel to deliver food. This is a real fact, but this by no means will not be the only reason, so to say. And the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State, Bureau of African Affairs, I think it is the United States Department of State, Molly Fee is the one, as I guess, or as I um, read from different sources, if my memory helps me well, has expressed her thought that it will join the UN in expressing concerns about what is said was seized by the Tigray Authority. And U.S. African Affairs were also saying that fuel is intended for the delivery of essential life-saving humanitarian assistance, and condemning the act. And the federal government communication service, following that, also accused what it called TPLF. He also always addressed the Tigray Authority as TPLF of using aid for military purpose. That is the accusation coming from the Ethiopian government. And it's a statement that I read in Tigrinya language, a one page or 2 page statement in Tigrinya. It looks like more concerned for the people of Tigray. It is also contradictory from what has been happening both in words and deeds. And it is uh, the TPLF, which is doing all these. I mean, like accusing the TPLF, and it looks like more of a propaganda tool by way of using this particular accusation of WFP against the Tigray Authority. This has surprised many Tigrayans as to how there was a quick and harsh response on on the alleged allegations, but there were also some responses to it as well, for the most part informally, as I have seen. And the government of Tigray has, after that, I think it was yesterday night or early this morning, the government of Tigray has formally released a statement regarding this allegation. In its 3 page press statement, it is basically saying that it has not stolen any fuel tankers. Uh, the government of Tigray had loaned, according to the statement released in English, the government of Tigray had loaned over 600,000 liters of fuel to WFP. So it is simply demanded that it is has to be paid back in accordance with the agreement with WFP and the government of Tigray. That in the future we will try to look into or analyze more what was the agreement between the Tigray government and the WFP. We will look into more probably by tomorrow, when we update you. And according to the uh, Tigray Authority or Tigray government, as we have read in the statement, the fuel will be basically or mainly used to run basic services like hospitals, clinics, and other health facilities across Tigray, which were looted, according to the information we have seen, which were looted and damaged by what it calls the invading forces. Um, these are mainly what I came across over the last few days, and I wish uh, my colleague at UMD, Professor Getachew, would have been here to give us more analysis. But we were intending to have a 30 minutes update on the coming days. I think I have used about 25 minutes of it. And uh, so UMD, for the most part, in this regard, especially with the eruption of the war, we advocate for peace, and we wish for the all hostilities in Ethiopia to come to an end, so that the people of Tigray and people of Ethiopia will have a peaceful air to breathe, and it's essential for all parties to look for a peaceful resolution of the matter. And I think, in my opinion, it's high time for the international community, not only in words but in deeds as well, to engage or put a pressure on all parties to sit on the table to resolve the matter peacefully. And that is the opinion I would like to provide. And for sure, all UMD media staff shares this. This has been the daily updates that we have commenced today in different formats, mostly focusing on the war in Tigray and the situation in Ethiopia. With me, Shimalis Marassa Gabra Mikhail, the news and current affairs team head. And I will try to come up with Professor Getachew tomorrow and over the coming days. If you have any comments and questions or suggestions, please don't hesitate to send us to our channel. And also, I think you have heard in a number of times, UMD is also appearing or coming up on Horn Broadcasting Services alongside other media outlets. And so I think with that, we come to the end of the session for today. Thank you all for listening to our programs. And I will say until we see you tomorrow, have a good one.